It is a quiet night in Bethlehem. A child is born in silence softly. His name is Jesus Christ. People say he brought love and hope, but he was also rejected, hurt, and killed. How could a man of peace face such pain? Tonight, we discover his story together now. If you enjoy learning English through real stories like this, subscribe to Story World English for more. It was a quiet night in Bethlehem, around 4 BC. The town was small. The streets were simple and dusty. Mary was very young. She was kind and calm. Joseph was a carpenter. He worked with wood every day. They were not rich. They had no power. But they had strong faith in God. Before Jesus was born, something strange happened. An angel came to Mary with a message. The angel said she would have a son. This child would be special, very special. Mary was afraid. She did not understand. But she listened. She trusted. She accepted. Joseph was confused at first. He had doubts. But another message came to him in a dream. He chose to stay. He chose to believe. When Jesus was born, there was no room anywhere, no place in the houses, no space for them. So he was born in a stable, a place for animals, cold and quiet. That night was simple, but it was not normal. Something new had entered the world, a child with no home, no bed, no power, but a child people would remember forever. It was a bright morning in Nazareth, around 6 AD. The town was quiet. Life was slow and simple. Jesus grew up like other children. He walked dusty roads. He played with friends. Mary cared for him with deep love. Joseph taught him how to work with wood. The house was small. The family was not rich. But there was peace inside their home. Jesus learned early. He listened more than he spoke. He watched people. He asked quiet questions. He learned the old stories of his people, stories about prophets, kings, and faith. When he was 12, something unusual happened. The family traveled to Jerusalem for a holy visit. The city was busy. The temple was full. People came from many places to pray. But on the way home, Jesus was missing. Mary and Joseph were afraid, very afraid. They searched for him. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Finally, they found him in the temple. He was sitting with teachers. He was listening. He was asking questions. The teachers were surprised. His words were deep. His mind was sharp. Mary did not understand. She felt worry and relief. But she kept this moment inside her heart. Jesus returned home. He lived quietly again. But something inside him was growing slowly. It was a warm afternoon by the Jordan River, around 27 AD. People gathered near the water. They came to listen and change. A man named John was there. He spoke strongly. He called people to turn back to God. Jesus walked toward him quietly. No crowd followed him. No one knew his name yet. John saw him and paused. Something felt different. The air felt still. The moment felt heavy. Jesus stepped into the water. He asked John to baptize him. John felt unsure. He felt small, but he agreed. He trusted this moment. As Jesus rose from the water, something changed. People watched. Some felt it. Some did not. From that day, Jesus began to speak. He spoke about love, mercy, and truth. His words were simple, but they were powerful. People listened. People followed. People changed. He spoke to the poor. He touched the sick. He welcomed those others pushed away. He had no army, no money, no position, but he had something stronger, a voice people felt. And slowly, quietly, his path began to open. It was a hot afternoon in Judea, around 29 AD. Crowds followed Jesus everywhere he went. People listened to him for hours. They felt hope. They felt seen. They felt peace. But not everyone was happy. Some leaders began to worry. These leaders had power. They controlled the temple. They made the rules. People respected them. Jesus spoke differently. He spoke about the heart, not just rules. He said love was more important than appearance. He said truth lived inside, not outside. This made the leaders uncomfortable. They felt challenged. They felt exposed. "Who is this man?" they asked. "Why do people follow him?" They watched him closely. They listened to every word he said. They tried to trap him with hard questions. But he answered calmly, clearly, strongly. At the same time, the Roman rulers were also watching. They feared anyone who could influence large crowds. To them, crowds meant danger. Crowds meant possible rebellion. Jesus did not want war. He wanted peace. But his growing voice created tension everywhere. The pressure was rising slowly, and something dark was beginning to form. It was a cold night in Jerusalem, around 30 AD. The city was full. People had come for a holy festival. Jesus sat with his close friends. They shared a final meal together. The room was quiet. The air felt heavy. Something was about to happen. Jesus spoke slowly. His voice was calm. He said one of them would betray him. The friends looked at each other in shock. They felt confusion. They felt fear. Later that night, Jesus went to a garden. He needed silence. He needed strength. He prayed alone under the dark sky. His heart felt heavy. His body felt weak. He knew what was coming. Pain, betrayal, death. Then footsteps broke the silence. Soldiers arrived with torches and weapons. One of his own friends stood with them. He came close and kissed Jesus. That kiss was the sign. The moment of betrayal. The soldiers took Jesus away. His friends ran. They disappeared into the night. He stood alone, completely alone. They questioned him. They accused him. They hit him. They mocked him. No one defended him. No one stood beside him. The man who gave love to everyone now faced hate from every side. And the night grew darker still. It was a grey morning in Jerusalem, around 30 AD. The sky felt heavy. The streets were loud. Jesus stood before a large crowd. His hands were tied. His body was weak. The leaders shouted. The people watched. Some were angry. Some were silent. A Roman governor stood nearby. His name was Pilate. He looked at Jesus. He saw no crime. But the crowd grew louder. They demanded punishment. They demanded death. Pilate hesitated. He felt pressure from every side. He wanted peace. He wanted control. Then he gave the order. The moment was decided. Soldiers took Jesus away. They placed a heavy cross on his shoulders. He began to walk through the streets, step by step, slow, painful. People watched from both sides. Some cried, some laughed, some turned away. The road was long, the weight was too much. He fell once, then again, then again. His body was breaking. But he stood again. He kept walking. He kept moving forward. At the hill, the soldiers stopped. The air was still. The moment felt endless. They nailed his hands. They nailed his feet. Short breaths, sharp pain, loud cries. The sky seemed to darken above him. Hours passed slowly. Every second felt heavy. The crowd watched in silence now. Then Jesus spoke. His voice was weak but clear. He asked for forgiveness for those hurting him. No anger, no hate, only love. Then his head fell forward. Everything stopped. The man who spoke of peace had died in pain. But something in that moment changed the world forever. It was a quiet morning in Jerusalem, 3 days later. The city was calm. But something felt different. A few women walked slowly to a tomb. They carried spices. They came to honor Jesus. Their hearts were heavy. Their eyes were tired. They had lost hope. They had lost their teacher. When they arrived, they stopped in shock. The stone was moved. The tomb was open. They stepped closer, slowly, carefully. Inside, there was nothing. No body, no silence, only emptiness. Fear filled their hearts. Questions filled their minds. What happened here? Who moved the stone? Then something unexpected happened. They heard a voice, soft but real. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. "He is not here." The women ran back to the others. Their words were fast. Their voices were shaking. Some believed, some doubted, some were confused. Soon, more people began to say the same thing. They had seen Jesus, alive again. He spoke to them. He walked with them. He brought back something they had lost, hope. The fear began to fade. The silence began to break. And slowly, the story began to rise again. It was a bright morning in Jerusalem around 30 AD. The city was waking slowly, but something was changing fast. Jesus stood with his followers again. They saw him, they heard him, they felt his presence. Some still doubted. Some still feared. But many believed now. He spoke to them one last time. His voice was calm. His words were clear. "Go," he said. "Share what you have seen. Bring love, bring truth, bring hope." They listened in silence. These were not easy words. They were simple people, fishermen, workers, ordinary lives, no power, no money, no protection. But now, they carried something bigger. They carried a message for the world. Soon after, Jesus left them. The moment was quiet. The feeling was deep. The followers stood together. They looked at each other with new eyes. Fear was still there, but something stronger had grown. Courage. They went into cities and towns. They spoke in streets and homes. Some people welcomed them. Others rejected them. Some attacked them. But they did not stop. They kept going. They kept speaking. The message spread slowly, then faster, across lands, across cultures, across hearts, from one small group in one city to people in many places. The story of Jesus did not end on that hill. It continued through those who believed, and step by step, voice by voice, the world began to change. It was a warm afternoon in ancient Rome, around 60 AD. Small groups of followers were now everywhere. They carried the message of Jesus. But their lives were not safe. Some rulers feared this growing movement. They saw it as a threat. Followers were arrested. Some were beaten. Some were forced to leave their homes. One of them was Paul. He once rejected the message. Then he changed. Now he traveled far and wide. He wrote letters. He spoke in cities. He was often alone, often tired, often in danger. But he never stopped. He said something simple and strong. Love is stronger than fear. Many believed him. Many followed him. But many also rejected him. The world was divided, between fear and faith, between power and love. The movement of Jesus changed form. It was no longer one place. It became a journey, carried by people, not places. Some stories were lost. Some were remembered. Some were changed over time. But the core message stayed alive. Love others, forgive others, do good. And slowly, quietly, transformation continued, not through power, but through people. It was a soft morning in ancient cities many years later. The message of Jesus had spread far, from small towns to great empires, from simple homes to royal courts. People spoke his name in many languages. They told his story again and again. Not just kings remembered him, ordinary people remembered him too. The poor found hope in his words. The broken found strength in his message. Places changed slowly. Beliefs changed deeply. Churches were built across lands. Books were written about his life. But more than buildings or books, something invisible remained. A feeling of love. A call to forgiveness. A hope that darkness does not win. His story became part of history, but also part of human hearts. Even today, people still speak about him, still read his words, still feel his message. Jesus lived a short life on earth, but his impact did not stay short. It grew across centuries, across generations, across lives, and it continues quietly even now. Jesus was not perfect in human eyes. Some people felt he challenged too much. He spoke against powerful traditions. He questioned leaders openly. Some say this created conflict. Some say it brought division. Maybe this is true in history. Different people see him differently. Some followed him with deep love. Others rejected him completely. Nobody agrees on every detail. And that is part of his story. He lived in a time of tension. Religion and power were deeply connected. His message disturbed that balance. So reactions were strong and divided. Some called him teacher. Some called him troublemaker. Some saw truth in him. Others saw danger in him. Nobody is remembered the same way by all. Jesus was human in story and memory, and that makes his life more complex, more real, more open to reflection. We do not need perfect stories, we need honest ones, and his story remains deeply human. Jesus teaches us simple human truths, truths that still feel alive today. Love others even when it is hard, forgive others even when it hurts. These are not easy lessons. They require patience and strength. He showed that small actions matter. A kind word, a gentle touch. He spoke to people others ignored. He listened when others stayed silent. Why do we still remember him? Because his message speaks to the heart. Not power, not wealth, not fame, but kindness, compassion, understanding. In a noisy world, his voice is quiet, but it still reaches people. Every generation finds something in his story: hope during pain, light during darkness. We all face struggle in life. We all feel loss and fear. His story reminds us we are not alone, and that love can still guide us. Even now, those words feel close, simple, human, true. Jesus spoke many languages of the heart. He used words to heal and connect. Today, you are also learning a language. English is your bridge to the world. You may feel slow sometimes. You may feel unsure sometimes. But like his followers, you continue, step by step, word by word. Every story you hear builds your mind. Every sentence you understand builds your strength. You are not just learning English. You are building confidence inside yourself. Jesus started with simple people. No power, no privilege, no fame, yet their learning changed the world. Your learning also has value. Keep listening, keep growing, keep going. Small progress is still progress, and your journey matters more than you think. If this story touched you, please like this video and subscribe to Story World English for more. Leave a comment below. Tell me which part of Jesus Christ's story moved you the most. He showed us love is stronger than pain.